Rob Tebbutt here for Boxing News, joined by apparently the new WBO Cruiserweight Champion of the World, George Groves. We're here in Bournemouth after Chris Billam-Smith's majority decision win over Lawrence Okolie to capture the WBO Cruiserweight title. Now, of course, held by you. George, that was some night.
This is my first interview with you, Rob, for Boxing News. That's exciting, isn't it? It's really exciting. Start that again. No, yeah, amazing. What was the question?
So it was some night.
Yeah, mega night, unbelievable night. I felt like it only hit me when I got here and walked out. I was like, that's a big rig. It's a big rig above the ring. Makes sense. It's a football stadium. It's like there's a lot of seats out on the pitch. This is exciting. Adrenaline's flowing. I'm like, oh. Went up on the stage, had a little look at the stage, a bit of pyrotechnics, and I don't think it wasn't. This is a Bournemouth crowd. Like Bournemouth people have come to support. There's a lot of South Coast fighters on the card. You could tell because the crowd were out, and I know it was sunshine, it's outdoors, so you want to be outside, but it wasn't like it was empty and then they all piled in for the main event. They were all here for the whole event, and yeah, it was amazing, unbelievable.
Talk to us about the fight. It looked as though the first 3 rounds, Lawrence Okolie was kind of able to neutralise Chris a little bit, was able to win those first 3 rounds, doing what he's known for, really, which is tying Chris up and negating him. But then the momentum shift in the 4th round with that left hook.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So, I had Okolie ahead after the first 3 rounds. Obviously, everyone would. Not like an awful lot in it, but he was landing the crisper shots. Variations with the long right hand was really good. But then in that 4th round, they both just settled a little bit. Maybe just finding your pace, finding your rhythm. And before the knockdown, Okolie shots, either Chris was getting a timing of him and he was making him miss a little bit more, or Okolie was just a fraction slower. He can at times lose his legs, Okolie. That's a psyche he needs to work on, and he ends up out of position. And something that he got wrong continually throughout the night is he would end up right over on his right side, and his head's a sitting target for Chris's left hook, and that's his best shot. It looked like a big shot when he goes down, and in replays it doesn't look as big as what I thought it was instantly, but it must have been, because it had a significant effect on Okolie, and he was struggling for the rest of that round. Chris didn't really have a chance to land anything else significant in that round, but yeah, massive momentum shift in Chris's favour, and then now it's on. Now it's a totally different fight. It's just like his career. It's a Hollywood movie. It's like what happens now? Can he get to him? Can he finish him? Can he build on this? Will he get caught in the meantime? Will he gas out? And I've found out that he hasn't had the most ideal fight week. Cut his last spar. I'm sure that's not a secret. He's had norovirus or something similar this week. So, and the occasion, the stadium, the world title fight, and then you drop the guy, and then how do you control that rush of energy, that rush of adrenaline, without drowning in it? I think that's probably his most elitist attribute, is that even when he looks tired, even when he looks spent, he's still there in the fight, and he's still plugging away. So yeah, amazing.
Obviously, the fight was kind of marred, really, by point deductions. There was 2 point deductions for Lawrence Okolie for holding. What did you make of that? And is that something that Lawrence needs to be addressing moving forward in his career?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think he held his hands up right at the end of the fight. He didn't scream about it or anything like that. I think he knows he holds, and Chris and his team would have made a big point this week about the holding. And in the fight, Chris was allowing Okolie to hold at times. Wasn't trying to hold back, wasn't trying to rush, fight his way out of those situations. And fortunately for Chris and unfortunately for Okolie, they took points off him, and I think the right decision. The referee gave him plenty of warnings. And we're there on the comms watching it there, and You know, you're calling it before the referee sees it sometimes. So that's something that Okolie definitely needs to work on. He's not comfortable fighting on the ins, like he's not comfortable sitting on someone's chest. And his natural go-to is to hold. And then right in the last 3 rounds, when I think he knew that he couldn't hold anymore, he would just let his hands hang by his side and still just be leaning on Chris's chest. So that's something where he needs to either get his hands up, but keep him to himself, and bump and nudge and fire off of that. Something that Chris has really developed quite well in the last. Look what I found. Yeah, that's Chris, but give me his belt back. Yeah, all good.
Late on in the fight, it looked as though I think a lot of people, myself included, had Chris Billam-Smith ahead in the later rounds. Had to walk through some fire though late on in the fight, particularly rounds 10 and 11. Lawrence Okolie managed to find the home for that right hand. Were you surprised that he was be able to walk through those shots?
Yeah, I mean he's a phenomenal puncher, Okolie. But Chris has shown that he can weather a storm. You know, he had a dog fight with Richard Riakporhe, who's a huge puncher. And you know, you never want to see fighters take punches. You don't want to see your friends take punches. But at that point in the fight, it felt like nothing was going to stop him. You know, he sort of got numb to them shots. You are like, oh man, don't take no more, and you should be miles ahead on the scorecards here, so you can even afford to drop these rounds without, and just don't get tagged or anything. And Okolie did rally hard. You know, he can't come with a second wave, Okolie. That's something he needs to work on, is because he loses his feet after those big shots, whether it be the left hand or the right hand, and then he's over the front foot and he's literally holding. So, but Chris at this point needs to keep moving his head, needs to stay with a nice little flow. Doesn't need to be too sharp or energetic, but it needs to be a flow, not get caught clean. Essentially, just keep that left hand up at times, and he did that really well. And at times he did literally take that right hand on the glove, and if he hadn't, it would have had a big effect.
Just came from Lawrence's dressing room. Lawrence said that at 100% he takes the rematch. Does that surprise you? Do you see anything going any different in a rematch?
I think Okolie definitely needs to take the rematch. Of course you would. Like, it's an opportunity to fight for a world title. You can't do anything but. I think you'll see. I think we have to see a different Lawrence Okolie next time, because the same Okolie could end up with the same result. He's with a new coach, Sugar Hill, and you know Sugar Hill was asking stuff from him in the corner, and he wasn't getting it. So maybe if they got more time to drill it in camp, you will get that. But maybe Lawrence Okolie is what Lawrence Okolie is now, and he's gonna find it difficult to make them adjustments. But yeah, I think for now, just like Chris to enjoy his belt, enjoy his time with his family. He's made the ultimate sacrifices that you have to. That all fighters do, but I've been fortunate enough to be present for some of that, to see it and see it materialise into this incredible feat. He's blessed. He's earned his blessings, but to win a world title in his hometown in a football stadium doesn't get any better. Like, it's incredible. So yeah, I'm proud of him. I'm over the moon for him. And as Barry Hearn would say, want some of that adrenaline.
He's going to relinquish his belt just there, George Groves. Final quick couple from me. You mentioned there about being there for some of Chris's journey. I think that's probably an understatement. As we've kind of long said, he's been long-standing president of the George Groves fan club. He, of course, came to McGuigan's gym initially to spar yourself. He's been there, you've been there throughout his whole time as a professional. How proud are you to have played the part in him? And, you know, he's, by his own admission, I'm sure he won't mind me saying it, you know, a very big fan of George Groves. And now you're sitting here having shared those years with him in the gym, and he's now a world champion.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I don't want to say something as rubbish as it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. And I'm just happy, and it's proud. It is proud. I'm trying to think of a better word than proud, that he's gone out there and done it. Like, when it's an incredible feat. There was so much that he's had to overcome to do it, and he has. And yeah, to go from being a decent amateur but with a good attitude to being sick note in the gym because he couldn't finish the circuits, fighting on the small halls, then stepping up, fighting for belts, winning titles, getting his nose put out of joint. He won't say it because he's a gentleman, but getting his nose put out of joint because Lawrence Okolie shows up at the gym and he's 2 steps ahead of him. Having to relocate after relocate, be away from his family, from his kid. All the stuff that many fighters have to do, but to his credit, he's had one blip on his record against Richard Riakporhe. He hasn't made another one since, and this was the ultimate opportunity. I told him at the start of this camp when the fight was announced, I was like, this ain't just another fight. Because I'm horrible like that. I'm like, this ain't just another fight. Don't just enjoy it. Fucking make this fucking count. So this is life changing, absolutely life changing for you and your kids, like you and your future kids. So yeah, be switched on, be present for every second of every moment, every session, because it'll be a battle of concentration on fight night. And he left no stone unturned. He dared to be great, and it paid off. And I'm proud of him.
May 27th at a football stadium. We've heard this before, George.
Yeah. He texted me. That's how sweet he is. Like he says, "Oh, it's fate." So 6 years ago today, George Groves won a world title at the 4th attempt at Bramall Lane. But I was way down on the undercard. This fucker's headlining and doing it in the first time. I said to him as well, don't fuck about. Because I said, took me years to get one. You ain't got time, mate. You get a fucking job done. And he did. And mega. Now all he needs is a tournament and a fight in Saudi, and then he's job done, isn't it?
Final word on your former trainer and your friend Shane McGuigan, who has taken Chris on the journey, just like he did you. Of course, very different journeys and different stages of the career. How much credit does Shane deserve? You mentioned there about Chris being a decent amateur. With respect to him, he wasn't an Olympian or a medalist. How much credit does Shane McGuigan deserve for the journey he's been on with Chris Billam-Smith?
Yeah, incredible. I mean, it's incredible. Shane's an elite coach, an amazing coach. He's got a fantastic eye for talent. Between him, brother Jake, and Barry, and and between the three of them, they sort of tick every box in what they see in a fighter. They nurture the fighters right, they match them right, they develop them right, and rarely will they not succeed. So. They've done a great job for Chris Billam-Smith. The glory belongs to Chris Billam-Smith. It always does. The fight, the one that makes the ultimate sacrifices. But Shane, this could be, in some ways, his biggest night. He's been, he's been on a journey. Obviously, we know his journey. Me and you, Rob, know his journey, and he's had some really tough things he's had to overcome in his life. But he's, it's moulded him into, the ups and downs moulded him into a fantastic coach, and he got his man right tonight, and it paid off for him. And unifying world titles with Carl Frampton, unifying world titles with Josh Taylor, winning a world title with me at the 4th attempt, winning a world title with Lawrence Okolie, and many others who he's won belts with. This might be the biggest achievement yet, because no disrespect to Chris Billam-Smith, but he wasn't an Olympian, he wasn't a standout amateur prospect, he wasn't anything like that. He was decent fighter with a great attitude, and between them, they've got to the top, the pinnacle of boxing. So he's got to unify at cruiserweight, go up to heavyweight, call out, or he fights Canelo. He gets my fucking Canelo fight, don't he? Fuck man. So we go Mexico for that, Guadalajara, or Saudi, anywhere. Mega night, amazing night.
Okay. Well, George Groves of the famous George Groves Boxing Club podcast, available on all of your podcast outlets. Thank you very much for speaking to Boxing News, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Lovely. Cheers, Rob. Thanks, mate.